G'day guys, it's Dan from the Hi Guys in Balcatta, back with the Event Power Planning Series, Episode 2. So in Episode 1 we covered some basic site considerations with regard to cable management, ways we can run cable, access to site power, and also access to the site itself, and some of the considerations you need to bear in mind when it comes to selecting a site and or dealing with the site that you've already got. Okay, so Episode 2, what we're going to cover off on is how much power the site's going to require. So again, we're in the early planning stages, and as throughout any sort of planning activity, the more information we can get, the better. So this part of the planning process precedes the actual generator supply or the generator selection, as well as determining whether or not we have enough site power available at the site we've chosen. And what we're going to go through are the four main elements of an event and what their intricacies or some of the considerations are for each one of them. Okay, so we'll start off with the four categories, or the four basic categories. So you'll be looking at food. Okay, so by food I mean the food vendors, so the people who are selling the food and drink at the event. Then you've got market. Okay, so by market stalls I mean people other than food that are selling things or may have a marquee or some form of display. So that doesn't have to be someone selling stuff, but it can also be in an expo format, someone with an information tent and stuff like that. We go on to entertainment. I'll abbreviate it. So entertainment is anything from a large scale audio visual, light and sound production down to a small PA for either an acoustic setup or just an announcer / hawker. Then we've got miscellaneous. So miscellaneous covers everything else outside of those three categories. So it can be things like site offices, rubbish compactors, water pumps, hot wash units, refrigerated shipping containers, or refrigerated trailers, which can probably come under either miscellaneous or food, but it just depends on whereabouts it's located as to what considerations you need to bear in mind. Okay, so if we go through these categories one at a time, we'll look up at our food vendors. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through and pretend or mock up a small event. So in this instance, we've sent out a request for information to the foodies, and we've asked them whether they are cooking predominantly with electricity or gas. So for this instance, we'll assume that they're cooking with electricity, and we've asked them how many outlets they require. So we've got 10 food vendors, and each one of them has told us that they want two 15 amp outlets each. So we've got food times 10, and they want 2 times 15 amp each. Okay. So then to our market stalls, and again, we'll run with 10 market stalls, and they've come back to us and they've said that they need one 10 amp outlet each. So 10 market stalls, 1 times 10 amp outlet each. Okay, so along the way we've also asked them to specify that that's single or three phase. So in this instance, all of these requirements here are single phase, meaning just a normal plug-in plug that you would normally see on a household appliance. Entertainment, so again this can be as big or as little as your event dictates. Things to consider with the larger events are, and usually this is information is best sourced from the people that you're contracting to run the event in terms of the audio and visual, but things you may need to consider is if it is a larger event, they will definitely want their own generator, so they won't want to be on the same generator as the market, the food, or the miscellaneous. And the reason for that is if there's an issue on any one of those three elements and it trips the generator, it trips the power, then it affects the light and sound as well, and you don't want that during your event. So if it's a larger one, they'll probably specify that they want their own generator. If it is, again, a larger event, they may specify they would like a generator for light and PA, or light and audio. And again, if it is even more critical, they may also specify they'd like a backup generator there in case they have an issue with one. So there's three things to consider there in terms of the supply for the power for the audio visual. But again, when it does get more complex, that's best left up to the contractor that you're using. For this particular instance, we'll assume that it's going to be an acoustic band, and they've asked for two 10 amp outlets. Okay, miscellaneous. So given that we've got 10 food vendors, we're going to assume that we need 2 refrigerated trailers. So there's 2 10 amp outlets there. And then we'll say that we're going to have an information tent, we're going to have a toilet block, we're going to have a water pump for the toilet block, and we are also going to have a hot wash unit behind the foodies. So we've got 5 10 amp outlets to cover off each one of those. Okay, so this fictional event that we've created here is going to be a daytime event. However, if it was a nighttime event, then you also need to consider things under miscellaneous, such as area lighting, which could be festoons. You may also need to consider emergency exit lighting, as well as lighting for each one of the marquees. But that's something a bit more in depth that if you need any assistance with, by all means, hit me up. But in this instance, we'll assume it's a daytime event, and these are the power requirements that will cover us off based on the information that we've received back from the vendors. Okay guys, so I'm going to leave episode 2 there to keep it short and sharp. Episode 3 will cover off on how we break all this down into parts, or basically summarise this power so that we can identify how much power we'll need, whether that's sourced by site power or supplemented or solely supplied by a generator. As I said in previous episodes, guys, we do this full planning service from the start. So if you are in the middle of doing an event and you need some information or you'd like a little bit of guidance, by all means, send me a private message on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook to stay abreast of this series. And yeah, drop me a message if you need a hand. Okay guys, that's all for episode 2. See you in episode 3. Cheers.